It's summer 2006. After finally convincing your parents to pick up the ever-elusive Xbox 360 that came out last November, you are eager to return to your home and finally experience HD gaming. But maybe on an SD TV. You plug it in and take in the majesty of the Blade's user interface as you try to now convince your dad to purchase an Xbox Live Gold subscription. After finally signing in, you pop the disk drive open to throw in your used copy of Call of Duty 2. Words simply cannot describe how blown away you are by the graphic fidelity. After Comrade Commissar teaches you how to aim down sights by shooting teddy bears and throwing potatoes, you see a foreign pop-up on your screen with a distinctive sound effect. Achievement unlocked? What does that mean? Before you know it, you find yourself trying to obtain every achievement in the game as you watch your gamer score go up on your profile. You find that these achievements can be for simply completing levels, or to find unique Easter eggs, or to even offer interesting challenges. You learn that it can feel good to raise up that number. You may even find yourself returning to GameStop to pick up that copy of Avatar: The Last Airbender for some easy points. And I mean, really easy. Over the years, Sony followed suit with their trophy system, Steam followed suit with their own achievement system. Hell, there's even a community of people trying to make achievements for retro games via emulators. At this point, the only outliers are Nintendo, though aspects from the Miiverse on the Wii U aren't too far off. It made me ask myself, where did this idea come from, and why did this become such a phenomenon? In the earlier days of gaming, having a high score was a much bigger deal than it is now. It incentivized gamers in arcades to keep popping in quarters over and over again to attempt to achieve notoriety for their skills. Or maybe it just incentivized people to write their initials as ASS! While this was great for arcades, the booming home console market didn't have as much of a push in this regard, since there wasn't as much of a competitive scene usually in your own home, unless you had some intense sibling rivalry or something. During the Atari 2600 era, newly formed publisher Activision had a promotion that let customers of their games send in photographs of their high scores to receive a physical patch in the mail to show off their achievement. Each game came with the requirements on what it would take to receive this patch and where to send in their evidence. This would hopefully score some kids on the playground some major cred for achieving a 20,000 point score on Pitfall. In the mid-90s, Microsoft bought a site called The Village, which was rebranded multiple times over the years. You might have heard of Zone.com or MSN Games or something of the like. It featured games that people could play over the internet on their browser. Microsoft added MSN Game Badges, which might have very well been the inspiration to what was to come. At E3 2005, Jay Allard of Microsoft showed off their next console, and more importantly, their new iteration of the Xbox Live service. On this new service, Microsoft saw value in expanding on player profiles as a whole. In a world in which social media was starting to become the norm, this made sense. Now you could have a friend list with up to 100 other Xbox Live users and have a gamer card that showed off your gamer score and the most recent achievements on the account. Other than the requirement that a retail game needed to have 1,000 points allocated, and digital-only games 200 points allocated, developers were left to their own devices on what to do with these achievements. Some achievements had the players perform badly to unlock them, while some had players drive a truck into zombies for hours and hours straight until you hit 53,594 kills. God damn it, why did I do this? Twice. Some players love to promote their gaming activity and identity by using websites to automatically generate signatures, such as My Gamer Card or Exoface, etc. Many online message boards would pop up making achievement guides and achievement roadmaps, and they would have communities formed by sharing their similar goals. This was all occurring during the beginning of YouTube's lifespan, and many content creators started making various achievement guides using gameplay footage from capture cards, or heaven forbid pointing a camcorder at their TV screens. Quite often, they are dubbed achievement hunters, most likely due to the popular web series called Achievement Hunter from Rooster Teeth. Big YouTube channels like PowerPix and Maka91 Productions also popped up, which quite a lot of gamers have stumbled upon at least once or twice over the years for some assistance. As years went on, the popularization of the achievement system made the phrase achievement unlocked nomadic.
More! So basically it's called Goat Simulator, and you pretend to be a goat. Don't look at me like that.
So much that it hit audiences that don't often play video games.
You know, man, you're not supposed to just walk into a person's room when they're sleeping.
Good to see you again, friend.
Just because you want a handout. You can get yourself killed that way.
You could show the achievement unlocked image to your grandma and there's a good chance that she might understand it. But why are some gamers so obsessed with obtaining these achievements? Well, there are quite a few theories to point to. Achievements allow players to compare themselves to one another. According to the social comparison theory proposed by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1954, there exists, in the human organism, a drive to evaluate his opinions and abilities, and people evaluate their opinions and abilities by comparing respectively with opinions and abilities of others. On most achievement systems, as long as their privacy settings allowed, players can look up the achievements of others. This can allow players to create both downward and upward comparisons to one another. For example, maybe you just got destroyed by someone on Street Fighter 4. Before you send that nasty scrub quote, you know what I'm talking about, you might find yourself checking out their achievement list and doing a little cyber sleuthing. Can you believe that this guy never even beat Bloodborne? Maybe you might feel a little bit better about that match now, as you look at your platinum trophy on Bloodborne. Alternatively, maybe you see that your friend from high school may have gone through the effort of transporting a garden gnome for the entirety of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 to achieve the Little Rocket Man achievement, and it may motivate you to do the same. Godspeed, little buddy. Godspeed. This kind of thinking raises our self-efficacy, or personal belief an individual has in their own perceived abilities and their confidence in being able to meet the challenges ahead of them. Which brings me to my next point. Achievements trigger social proof. In 1984, psychologist Robert Cialdini coined the term social proof. It describes the concept that people will follow the actions of the masses. As humans, we tend to believe that if everyone behaves a certain way, then it must be the correct behavior. Let's give a non-gaming example for a moment. Have you ever heard in marketing, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend, or the most popular product? These phrases significantly increase the chances of the product being bought. Another great example of social proof is the addition of laugh tracks in television sitcoms. When you hear laughter, slightly humorous material becomes funnier to a wider audience.
Pivot! Pivot!
The concept of social proof is so powerful that it can make us disbelieve our own senses. So back to gaming. If we see an achievement that tells us everyone is playing a game a certain way, the concept of social proof will lead us to believe that it's normal for all players to follow suit. I personally remember completing Dead Space 1 by only using a plasma cutter on my first playthrough, not because I came up with the idea on my own, but because I saw a lot of people online talking about the achievement. Achievements set our expectations. In Final Fantasy VII Remake, there were a couple minigames available, some optional, some required. Those minigames that were required had a baseline goal and a higher goal associated with it. For example, in the box-breaking minigame, you could only go for 10,000 points, or you can try and get 30,000 points to net an item and obtain an achievement. Achievements can help set a player's expectation on what would be a reasonable score to shoot for. Getting 30,000 points isn't even difficult by any means, but players can still feel a good level of accomplishment for receiving that score, given the fact that achievements set our expectations. Another example from the FF7 remake is the achievement to beat Wedge at a game of darts. Do we need to beat Wedge? He doesn't seem to have a lot going for him after all, except maybe for his cats. Do we really need to knock him down a peg? Well, looking at the rarity of the achievement though, many players played the game enough to knock him off the top spot, as Wedge set our expectation of a score to try and obtain. Which brings us to our next point. Starting progress towards achievements creates commitment. One of the smartest things the Xbox One did with their achievement system was to show you how close you are to obtaining certain achievements. Usually, having a progress bar makes us more inclined to fill it up. This is called the endowed progress effect. Let's once again think outside video games. In my wallet, I have a punch card for a cheesesteak restaurant named Philly's Best that I've been carrying around for years. Every time I order a sandwich on my lunch, they punch me closer to a free sandwich as a reward. There have been many times I tried to slim down the size of my wallet, but I still keep these punch cards because I felt invested in the progress I have already made and wanted to continue it, even if the reward is slight.
Well, that's where I see things just a little differently. Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
Let's return to video games. Let's say you completed a game and found that you got every single trophy except maybe one or two. You look at your PlayStation percentage and you see around 90% completion. Once again, you see that progress bar highlighting how close you are now on a full game basis. People are much more likely to get those last achievements as opposed to a game that was beaten and only 10% of the achievements or trophies were unlocked.
See if I can't get the angle on him.
Okay. Hey, be careful.
Achievements expedite psychological flow. Have you ever felt like you were just in the zone while playing a game? When you were getting headshot after headshot, perhaps getting multiple chicken dinners or victory royales in the same night? Maybe losing track of time as you clear boss after boss in Dark Souls? I personally remember this best during my Guitar Hero 3 era, when I was managing to full combo difficult songs on Expert one after another. Things are still challenging, sure, but not too challenging. You find yourself totally immersed in the game, at least in a gameplay sense. Of course, this isn't exclusive to video games, as you might find yourself feeling that you are in the zone some days at work or maybe even school. In fact, sometimes I feel this way while working on a video. I apologize in advance for butchering this name, but psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi liked to call this effect psychological flow. He believes that people are at their most productive and happy when they're in a state of flow. In his words, flow is a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it even at great cost, just for the sheer sake of doing it. How does this connect to achievements, you might ask? Let's think about my Guitar Hero example earlier. When I was getting the full combo on a song, I was receiving good, accurate, and timely feedback by the game itself, not only in score, but with the audience cheering me on. I felt motivated by both the visuals and the audio of the game itself. Feedback is crucial to attaining flow. When you hear that sound effect when obtaining an achievement, you're getting that feedback that you are doing well, which gets you one step closer to bring about flow. Extrinsic versus intrinsic. There are two types of rewards that we can receive when accomplishing something in a video game: extrinsic and intrinsic. When you get these rewards, your brain creates a chemical called dopamine, which makes you feel good. Extrinsic rewards would be when you do something for something else. For example, I might hate the hours of grinding for experience I do in a turn-based RPG, as I can find the combat repetitive and uninteresting during the grind, but I absolutely love being overpowered in the areas that follow. The reward is outside the activity that I'm currently doing. Intrinsic is quite different. Maybe I love the challenging combat in an action RPG, and I find the gameplay itself its own reward. Another way to look at the difference is, some people might like to join a competition just because they like to compete, while other people might like to join a competition because they want the reward it might have. An overarching achievement system is more of an extrinsic reward than intrinsic. Is that a bad thing? Well, that depends. Intrinsic motivation is what game designers should strive for, as they want to make a game that is fun on its own merits, but it isn't mutually exclusive from extrinsic motivation. For example, it should feel good to play a game on its hardest difficulty, intrinsic, and it should feel good to get acknowledged for it, extrinsic. It's possible for some people to not have fun completing the game on its hardest difficulty as it continued on, only to continue through it for the extrinsic reward of attaining the achievement. Basically, what started as something both intrinsically and extrinsically rewarding now has turned exclusively extrinsic. It's very hard for it to go the other way around. I personally did it when my friend didn't think I could go through Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on its hardest difficulty and also complete all its challenges. I hated my experience, but my reward was to say, look, I did it. Asshole. To me, playing the game on hard out of spite felt like work. That phenomenon is called the over-justification effect, and it isn't exclusive to just video games. Look at this quote from The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, for example. There are wealthy gentlemen in England who drive 4-horse passenger coaches 20 or 30 miles on a daily line in the summer because the privilege costs them considerable money. But if they were offered wages for the service, that would turn into work and they would resign. Considering this is a conversation that pops up quite often online, it seems that a lot of gamers feel this way. There are people who believe that the achievement system has ruined gaming a bit for them. It is important for game designers to focus on the intrinsic reward of playing the game and optionally have the extrinsic reward as a bonus. Easier said than done, of course, especially when people with OCD struggle sometimes with leaving things unfinished if they really need to. Whether you like achievements or not, there is no denying how huge of an effect they've had on modern gaming. I don't think we will be seeing them go away anytime soon. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, feel free to check out some of my other videos on this channel. I have a series called From Pixels to Polygons in which I go over the history of some of my favorite gaming franchises. I also make some dumb trailers sometimes, and we also have some dumb gaming compilations. Feel free to give us a subscription if you want. I mean, I'm not going to beg you. I'm only going to make things really awkward for the rest of this outro. Come on, just look at that subscribe button. Eh?